You're listening to Passing Time, a Detroit Lions podcast. We're one pride and all grit, with a passion for Detroit Lions football. Whether you're between meetings, between classes, sitting in traffic, or just relaxing at home, if you have time to pass, pass it with Passing Time. Detroit Lions Talk.
Welcome back. Episode number 44.
44.
Brian.
Season 2, Episode 7.
Man, Season 2 is already cruising along. Thanks for tuning in, making our podcast one of your weekly listens. I'm Rob.
I'm Brian.
And this is Passing Time, a Detroit Lions podcast. We're fired up.
Let's go.
We have a fun one for you today. We're going to talk about cuts, trades, the draft, free agency.
Okay.
And then Bill.
And
Bill.
Yeah.
And Bill. So a lot's happened this last week between a big trade, a couple big cuts, the tampering session is about to start, and then free agency is about to start. Some of our rivals have already gotten a head start on some of that stuff.
Yeah, and we're going to have to start competing with that.
We are going to have to start competing with that. And then, the draft boards are starting to matriculate out there, and you're starting to get like a general feel for, maybe not like pick by pick, but like block by block.
Yeah.
Who's the first block, and who's the second tier, and who's the third tier.
And you're going to start to see the trends continue. The combine has been out. The guys have either tested well or tested poorly. They're going to rise or fall on those big boards, and then you're going to start to see some of these visits, these pro days, and guys are going to get rolling.
So in this podcast, you're going to hear Brian and I probably disagree on a trade that was made, the Monty trade. You're going to hear some hot takes there. You're going to hear about the cuts that have happened, the draft, and there's a lot of good things here. So stay tuned. This will be a great one. And before you get to that, if you're not following, liking, subscribing to all the social medias, telling your friends, your grandpas, your kids, your uncles, your sons, your daughters, please click all the buttons, like, subscribe, listen, keep us on the algorithm.
We're rolling.
We're going to get rolling. We're going to get hot. And we're going to start off right there with David Montgomery.
Oh, Demo.
The big trade of last week.
On to Houston.
So
what's your feelings? Right away, what's the impact that it had on you right from the start?
The impact was like, whoa, that's real, right? Like, it was a lot of talk. Like, it was a lot of like he was saying the right things, and he was saying the wrong things, and he was only dealing with the agent, and it was like, oh man.
And you heard from that end of the season presser from Brad Holmes that it was definitely. It was out there, right? That Demo wasn't happy, and he has to want to be here, and we're still in conversations. And then Super Bowl week, Demo had his Radio Row process and said all the right things, and loves to be with Jameer and loves to be a Lion. And then it's almost like he was saving face a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. He was trying to say the right things and be marketable. And then Brad Holmes came out again during the combine and doubled down and saying like, hey, we're in talks, but it's got to be, he's got to want to be here. Mm-hmm. And then you saw some Twitter X comments that were thrown around a little bit and in saying that Demo wants out. And then Demo responds to those X statements like, well, did you hear that from Demo? And not 24 hours later, Demo's off to Houston.
He's off. So, in all fairness to David Montgomery, we'll get into this, and I actually I'm going to bury my hot take for when Bill does his bullet points.
Okay.
But Demo's 29, and he has a very, very short window here as a running back to have an impact and maybe get, that third contract. It's akin to like, you're a 37-year-old guy that's never been married. You have a chance here to marry somebody that, maybe doesn't have kids, isn't crazy, but it's a short shot clock. If you let that go a few more years, you're into a whole new subset of like craziness, right?
Sure.
And Demo knew that their age. He's probably dealing with an agent. It's like, hey man, I know you love Detroit. It's a good situation. They got a star running back. It's not for you. And if you want to be a primary ball carrier and have a chance to have longevity at a higher amount, you got to get out.
And I guess that's it. I mean, I feel like he saw his role diminishing and wasn't keen. Wanted more, wanted to be more of an integral part, and Jahmyr Gibbs is really, really good, and it's hard to take carries away from a top 2 running back in the league. So,
yeah, I mean, so you know what? Let's go off script a little bit.
Okay.
Like I'm not gonna bury my I'm not gonna bury my lead here, but like if we look at some of my notes last year, as it relates, it's hard to keep Gibbs off the field. And this is the whole point here. Gibbs had a 25.1 broken tackle rate in 2025. Monty had a 12%. Yeah. So more than double that rate, right? Even with poor offensive line play, if you just have an opportunity, Gibbs is such a star that he's got to be out there 85%. You just need to spell Gibbs. Even with poor offensive play, you can go get a cheaper hammer that helps you spend money in other places, whether it's offensive line or other holes to fill, because running backs out there, especially number 2 running backs, are a dime a dozen.
Sure. And I can understand that. I can see the business side of this and understand that we can get somebody that's 75% as good as David Montgomery, but pay them 85% less.
Craig Reynolds.
So
come on down.
We can get a guy that's fresh, that's young, that's right out of college, and can bang and do some pass pro, and not get a huge workload, but still contribute.
Yeah. Also, Detroit, they don't need a lot of guys in this roster. They need some premium guys in this roster. And now, by getting a couple more picks, a 4th and a 7th, they have now 9 picks in this draft, and ultimate flexibility to do some moving around, right? Like, if we come out of this draft with 4 premium players, I won't be mad.
And that's what the hope is, right? The hope is that you can get 4 guys that are going to be contributors out of this draft, and getting a 4th rounder this year is going to be a huge part of that. And given the fact that we don't have a 3rd rounder, and we've traded that already away.
Yeah. So we beat that one. Yeah. If you've been tuning in, and y'all been beating it too on the outside, on the X's and the Twitters and the TikToks or wherever you're putting your opinions out there, but. It's a big trade. I think, honestly, it's one of those win-win trades. I think the Lions got something for a guy that, like, how many teams can trade away their second-round running or their second-tier running back for a 4th, a 7th, and a depth piece on the offensive line? Right. Like, not many teams can do that.
And yeah, I mean, kudos to Brad Holmes to be able to get something from him. And it sounds like even giving David a little bit of something this too, because it sounds like that Houston was kind of one of his destinations points. But obviously, what is he going to say going there? But knowing that they put him in a good situation, they didn't send him to the Jets. They didn't send him to the Raiders. Down those holes that he would have gone and died in. So
he's got to beat out Woody Marks, who was a 4th or 5th round draft pick last year. Had a very solid year relative to his draft position, and Joe Mixon, who missed the whole year on injury. Who knows what that is? So, I mean, Montgomery goes in there basically 1A, right?
Yep.
Like, and now Woody Marks is his 2B. Monty was, the Sonic and Knuckles thing was real. It was fun. The only issue is Sonic became, a brand. And
all on its own, right? I mean, he doesn't need Knuckles there to move forward. But I'm going to still continue to believe that David Montgomery makes Jahmyr Gibbs better, and he makes the lines better. And we're going to need to fill another hole in this roster, and this roster already has some holes. And so Brad Holmes is going to need to do some work in free agency. He's going to need to do some work in the draft, and he's going to need to hopefully do some work in some trade possibilities in order to make this team better. Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say it. Like, I don't think the current Lions, the way that this roster stands, is better than last year's, and it's definitely not better than 2024.
We'll talk a lot about that over the next couple of months.
Yep.
But going back to when Jamal Williams wasn't re-signed,
sure,
and we felt like very similar. I mean, with rhymes of this, like Jamal just had 16 touchdowns. I don't remember what
he led the team in touchdowns, broke records in Detroit with the number of touchdowns. Obviously, we know that a lot of those were 1-yard carries and in the red zones, but ultimately carried a huge load for the Detroit Lions as we were progressing, and Jahmyr Gibbs was learning and becoming the star that he is now. So
a function of a good organization is like, know when to hold them and know when to fold them,
sure.
right? And like a lot will be determined here later on. Like revisionist history, like all you couch potato GMs, kind of like us, I guess, we'll be able to sit back and like wait to put our opinions out or our really loud opinions out until later. But the Lions might have a couple things up their sleeve here, and you got to let this play out.
Yeah, we hope so. And I think that has a part to do with my frustration, or maybe not even frustration is the right word, but the gap between when we traded David Montgomery to the weight that it's going to take for us to replace him, whether that's free agency or the draft. So it's the patience thing, and we all want that solution now and immediate, but we're going to have to sit back and hold off.
Well, as a podcaster, it's good for us, man.
Yeah.
we got banter for weeks to come. So
sure.
More on Montgomery later on, as we'll dive a little bit deeper into that. Okay. But Graham Glasgow was released.
Also, Graham was released. I think we all kind of saw that coming, even though we appreciate Graham, being loyal that we are, but a good franchise sees a guy declining and knows when to cut ties, saved cap space, and now it is a position of need. That center position is, I would say, our number one position of need going into this offseason.
I mean, yeah, no doubt. I mean, what would be even a semi-close second to that?
An edge opposite of Hutch?
I mean, but like it's center here, right? And then like, I mean, even an edge opposite to Hutch is a luxury to a premium edge, right?
But if you look at the roster right now, we have a lot of holes to fill. Right now, if you look at the roster, Alex Anzalone is a free agent. He's not a Lion. That's a third linebacker is important. A edge opposite of Hutch is important. Right now, I think it's Aiden Hutchinson, Ahmed Hassanin, and I think that's it. I think that those are the two guys that right now are on the roster. So edge opposite of Hutch is going to be important. A safety right now that is a hole that we have. We have a couple banged up safeties. Our depth is limited, and we're going to need to find some spots, some guys to fill those spots. And then you can dive into that offensive line. Center is again like our number one. Guard is a question mark right now, depending on what your expectations are with Christian Mahogany or Miles Frazier, and what you're expecting from Tate Ratledge going into year two.
Well, let's hit on that real quick.
Okay.
I mean, the jump from year one to year two is a real thing.
It
right?
is.
Like it's a real thing. So Tate got a taste. He played a ton. Did he play the most out of any offensive lineman?
He did, and I commend him for that. The concern for me would be, are we moving him from right guard to center?
Well, this free agency period in this draft is going to determine that 1,000%, right? Like how they feel about him. But I would say like you can expect him to be, a above average contributor to our offensive line.
I would say that is very dependent on what position he's playing and who you're putting around him. Because if you are asking him to move to center in year 2, which to me puts him back more of a learning stage, developmental position, and if you don't put somebody as a veteran next to him, then it's gonna be tough.
Brian, they're not moving him to center without. Okay. So you're either gonna get a veteran center, or you're gonna get a veteran guard, right? And like either way that happens, you're pairing that guy up with some kind of success in year 2. And he had a whole year to work some reps at center.
Sure, and I hope that you're right. But like you said, we don't know yet.
We don't know
yet. And so right now in this stage, before free agency rolls in, and as we're navigating the cap, and we're releasing guys, but yet not being able to bring guys in, we're not going to know what the Lions' plan is until the Lions start to roll with their plan.
We don't know, but we're going to talk this through for weeks, right? Like,
yeah.
This is good stuff. And also what we don't know is Terrion Arnold. Like, just trying to get his stuff back, right? Like,
$100,000 worth of things, watches stolen and cash and so on. And is he the one demanding it back, or is it his girlfriend and his driver?
Well, Chris Carter once said, everybody needs a fall man. And maybe you need a fall woman, but like, for his sake, I hope he did a good job, keeping his name out of this, and he can have fall people to take the blame. Obviously, he's got some kind of connection, but I don't know if it's a connection to.
You just worry that when there's smoke, there's oftentimes fire, and right now it is smoldering. So you're concerned that if Terrion Arnold is somebody that the Detroit Lions are relying on to be a starting corner, you don't want another hole to fill.
Mm-hmm. Free agents, Brian. We're coming up to this period.
Okay.
You have a free agent crush?
Absolutely.
Is it an obvious free agent crush?
It is my number one priority for the Detroit Lions is center. And I'm going to tell you that Tyler Linderbaum would be my number one crush, but realistically, I would love a Connor McGovern. I would love having Connor to come in, solidify our offensive line, really be able to move forward and make what was once a strength again.
So we did a little thought exercise between some contributors on the pod, and one thing that I found interesting is a couple of us both said Kwity Paye would be a really good opposite to Hutch, and we looked at 100 potential free agents, and Kwity Paye was one. Obviously, center, whether we were talking about. Tyler Linderbaum was obviously that's
one of our top-notch free agent centers that may or may not be out of the reach of the Detroit Lions, given the cap restraints and the demand that he's gonna have out there.
So two of named now, and then Cade Mays is another one that came up. So
for sure,
center's been hit hard, but. The Lions can think outside the box, and they can bring in a couple good guards because those are more prominently listed out there. You bring in a Zion Johnson, allows you to do some things, and maybe that tells you that Ratledge is going to move inside, and I guess it depends on a lot of things.
Sure, and if you bring in a veteran guard next to Tate Ratledge, that could alleviate some of those stresses. It could... give some flexibility to that O-line, and, it could make us good again. I wonder that, though, just because knowing what we had with Frank and, having an elite center, it really, really helped us click.
Yeah.
So
Kevin Zeitler's out there, knows the offense.
Love that.
Knows the guys. Probably get him for limited term.
Sure.
He just got paid a lot of money. He had a average season, I would say, not below, not above, but he's out there and he could fit right back in. So there's some potential out there. This is going to be a really fun week to watch. I hope that we can break some stories here coming in the week, and Brian's active on when that news comes out. Follow this podcast because he's gonna come out and he's gonna let you know right away.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we're going to start rolling, and being able to solidify that offensive line, I think we're going to see some active movements with Brad Holmes and free agency along those lines. If you follow Twitter or X or whatever, you may have seen conflicting results on that statement, whether we're going to be active or we're going to make splashes or not. I still believe that offensive line is a priority, and I think Brad Holmes knows that, and he has, in years past, attacked that. He's seen the weaknesses, and he goes out and does his darndest in order to make those weaknesses a strength. You've seen it when it came to corner, and I know he went out and traded for Carlton Davis that year. He went out and brought in Amik Robertson, and then he drafted 2 corners. So he is somebody that looks at a need and goes after it. And I truthfully believe that he'll do the same thing with our offensive line.
And that'll telegraph the pass on what they're thinking in the draft, or allow them to go best player available. And I think that's where they like. They like to have a couple guys they fall in love with, and if they're there within like the realm of trading up possibilities, they'll go out and they'll get their guy if they can. Right?
Sure. And I think there's a lot that's going to be told, in the tea leaves as it gets closer to free agency and as it gets closer to the draft, right? I think that once you start to see some contracts renegotiated, it's going to open up our eyes and say, okay, who's coming? Mm-hmm. Because right now the need to negotiate those contracts isn't there yet until we're ready to pull that trigger. So
yeah, as we look into the draft, Brian.
Yeah.
This isn't a draft episode. This isn't our best work here, but you're starting to see some formation of what the draft's going to look like, and who potentially is going to be in that Lions tier of, call it 12 to 20, where you could potentially draft those guys on, depending on, risers and fallers that are going to happen. One thing that I think is very interesting is how well some of the offensive guys have tested in the draft to push. There's a few wide receivers that can be taken in the top 15. There's a running back that's going to be taken. There's a tight end that's going to be taken. There's at least one quarterback, and then that quarterbacks get steamed up.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if Ty Simpson gets drafted in the top 15.
Yep.
That being said, that's all really good for the Detroit Lions, because every time somebody gets steamed up at a position like wide receiver and quarterback, that the running back, the Lions aren't going to want to draft. That allows one guy to fall that the Lions potentially could really use.
And whether that's an edge or offensive tackle, you can throw in safety as some of those positions of need, right around that 17. But it's going to be something like that. And I truthfully believe it's probably going to be either O-line or D-line in that early round, in that first round. So
O-line, D-line,
first and second round. So.
But they could take a corner. Like, we're still unsettled there. They could take a safety. That dare to say it, they could take a tight end. We have a guy with neck issues and nobody else behind him, coming off hiring a coordinator that features the tight end more than any other coordinator out there. So
sure,
there's some free agents out there, and there's some back end guys in the draft.
And then you look at some of the hopes and dreams that might fall to the Detroit Lions at that spot. Those a little bit upper tier of the draft, and is a Sonny Styles gonna fall to us? Is a Caleb Downs gonna fall to us? Is are some of these guys gonna be able to be available for the Detroit Lions?
So I guess this is maybe it's a good podcast to just dream a little bit before you get to that point, Brian. As you're dreaming, who are some guys that would be like really good wake ups? Like, hey, this guy, I dreamt it, and he ended up as a Detroit Lion.
Well, geez, when it comes to the draft, when it comes specifically to the draft, if we're looking at guys that are going to fall to us at around 17, or we make a move to jump a few spots in order to grab a guy that fits the Detroit Lions, I primarily would love an edge. Whether that's a Reuben Bain or
it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Or a Folk.
That's a wet dream.
A Kendrick Folk, which I think fits and is more realistic to that spot. I think that TJ Parker might be another decent fit. But yeah, some of those guys might be a good Lion.
Yeah, I mean, Kendrick Falk out of Auburn, bigger guy, big, heavy hands, strong against the run, less sack-y kind of guy, but he's got explosive athleticism. He did have a lot of sacks at Auburn. I don't know. I'm trying to get a good comparison, but he's more of a run setter with sack potential.
Yeah, I mean, he is kind of what they envisioned Marcus Davenport to be without the injuries, right? Yeah. A big, long-armed guy that could crush the can, set an edge, play the run on its way to the quarterback, and really set some things up for Aiden Hutchinson across from him, right? He seems like a good fit, a good two down, maybe D end, where he might not be the pass rush specialist, but he is somebody that complements the skill set of Aiden Hutchinson.
If Spencer Fana was there, that's a guy that it's kind of like that 10, I don't know, that 8 through 15 kind of range, but if he's in that striking distance,
it's a good guy, especially when Taylor Decker says he's coming back. And he might be a good fit in order to learn from that. He might even be a good guy that could push down into guard and play at guard for a year. And then when Decker decides to hang up the cleats, he can move out.
Yeah, I mean, long-term offensive line depth is never a bad thing.
Never a bad thing.
So, also, you looked at Caleb Downs. He's starting to slide a little bit in the draft.
Did not test all that great in the combine.
Test that great, but man, the eye test, that guy, you put him out there,
tape doesn't lie, right?
He wrecked offenses, right? Like a guy that can cover. You can play the nickel. You can play the corner. A ball hawking safety. He could hit, but also creates turnovers. And I don't know. Obviously, we're going to start the year without Branch. Probably without Kirby. Maybe without TA.
Right.
So, a year ago, we're sitting here, wiping our tears on the yacht, saying we have rich man problems in the secondary. Now it's I don't know what Rakestraw,
right?
Who's going to be? And
Dan Jackson going to have to start at safety,
Yeah. So Caleb Downs is a plug and play safety. Yep. And if you're looking for a guy that you're going to need a guy for 3/4 of the year, and he's sitting there, and he's a top 10 talent in the draft. Man, that would be a surefire pick. And you kind of did a lot of scouting on the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Were there certain guys that you kind of busted off the tape there?
Yeah, you see, the Derek Morris, who then has been, banged up, and you wonder if he's going to be, what his impact going to be in year one. Loved seeing him in the Senior Bowl. The Shrine Bowl had a few guys as well that you wonder if Jason Thompson's going to be a guy or Trey Smack. But guys that did jump off the page for us, Lee Hunter and Gabe Jackus, some of those guys that might fit a niche spot for the Detroit Lions. So
you're talking deeper rounds, 2 to 7, really.
Yeah, we don't have a 3 pick right now, but in that late day 2, early day 3, they may fit some spots for the Detroit Lions.
So next week we're going to dive. Hopefully, it's just a great free agent week to pod, and maybe the next 2 weeks, and then it's pure draft. It's pure speculation. It's mock drafts.
Sure.
We're going to get real into it, and right around that time we'll celebrate our year anniversary doing this podcast. You want to talk a little bit about Bill and kind of what he thinks?
Sure. Kind of resetting and going back to the the David Montgomery. Listen, Bill is a lover of Dave, Demo, as he likes to call him, and he was heartbroken in regards to the movement of David Montgomery to Houston. He's like, well, might as well go Pistons and move on because he's too sad to talk about David Montgomery. He believed that David was the straw that stirred the drink. He was the reason that we could grind out games, that physical presence, and the ability to rest a defense and put away games at the end. He calls him the guy that carried the mail, right? David Montgomery, he was a truther. I mean, Bill was a truther when it came to Demo, and he will be missed. And we're gonna have to find someone to replace him. And I don't believe he's on the roster right now. I don't think Vaki is the guy. I don't think Sailors is the guy. And right now, those are our options. So
yeah. They're definitely going to look at in the free agent market.
Yep.
Craig Reynolds is a free agent. He seemed to do a pretty good job.
Sure.
But also, there's going to be a lot of opportunity. And those 4th, 5th, 6th round running backs, they're all there, man. Those guys were potential All-Americans in college. Running backs tend to fall in the draft. A love will go in round 1. And I wouldn't be surprised if the second running back taken in the draft was a round 3 guy.
Sure.
Right, and that's kind of the way that the draft works.
And it looked like the type of running back that is pretty prevalent in this particular draft is a Demo kind of guy, somebody that's going to be between the tackles, somebody that's going to bang, and somebody that's going to maybe excel a little bit more in that pass blocking situation. So it might fit the Lions' needs, in those later rounds. And we're going to save a buck, As much as I hate to lose Demo in this process, a guy who is losing carries to a premier back, and a guy that we're going to rely on a little bit less as the year goes on, we can save a buck in that process. So
one guy that popped off in the combine is out of Arkansas, Mike Washington Jr., a 6'2", 6'3", 226-pound guy. Played in a couple different colleges. Arkansas was just a pure dumpster fire, but this guy ran a 4.39 at 230 pounds. I mean, just athletic score off the charts. Also was highly productive, and his production was all between the tackles. And this guy is going to be around there in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and we'll get further into that. But that profile is out there.
Yep.
And for not a lot, right? And that could be a guy that you get on your roster for the minimum for 3-4 years.
Yeah, and I think that's what the Lions are looking at. They're looking at doing what's right by David Montgomery, and 2, they're looking at, okay, is it cost effective to pay $8 million a year for our running back 2, who is not going to get nearly the touches that he wants? So
yeah. You want to kick it over to Michigan Sports Corner?
Let's chat a little bit because Tigers news is McGonigal is raking. He is doing his thing, and will he make an opening day roster?
Well, Fangraphs, which is, I would say, one of the more accurate predictors of what's happening in farm systems with Major League 40-man rosters, with bullpens. They now moved him officially as of yesterday. We're recording this on Thursday at 11 o'clock. This is when Stuart Scott and Rich Eisen would air their SportsCenter episode when we were a kid. But as of today, McGonigal is on the opening day Tigers roster.
All right. And so that makes you question, right? Are they going to give up the control for him a little bit early, or are they going to put their chips in the basket and say, hey, this guy might be winning Rookie of the Year, and we might be retaining a first-round pick in the future draft?
So, yeah, all that's weird, man. And, if McGonigal is just the straight-up truth, that year is a big deal. And we don't – it's easy to say, like, oh, yeah, we're all in for today. Well, if you wait till May 31st, we get a whole nother year. And think about it if you're, if you take Skubal right now, who's a superstar. If we had one more year of Skubal under team control, we'd all be – our anxiety would be way down. We wouldn't that could happen with McGonigal.
Yeah.
But also, like, we're pushing our chips in right now because we don't have Skubal on a contract after this year.
Yeah.
And we want maybe McGonigal to learn some things. And if he's the guy and he can win us a couple extra games and make the playoffs early in the year, we need to have that on the roster.
Right.
And that blast on the first pitch in the Dominican Republic at a sold-out crowd that was loud was basically like a shot to the Tigers brass being like, hey, you need me on this roster. You want me on this roster.
He's forcing the Lions office,
the Tigers offense
to make some hard decisions, right? And going 3 for 3 in that game, and RBIs when the Tigers have struggled to get the key hit with guys in scoring position going into the playoffs last year. This shows us, man, is this guy going to be able to come in and play a solid shortstop, allow Javi to be a little more versatile and play at his best like he did last year, and be an asset to this team.
Well, Javi's a right-handed stick, right? Mm-hmm. McGonigal's a left-handed stick. You can ease him into situations. You can set him up for success, and the Tigers love to do that. They love to play situational baseball. They love to have a guy on the bench with a left-handed stick, a guy on the bench with a right-handed stick with positional flexibility. But also, like, who has to go, right? Because also you got Vierling back, you got Winfield Perez, you got a couple guys that like deserve to be there. And if you're going to bring McGonigal on, one of those guys got to go.
Yeah, and you have to decide, what kind of control do you have with those guys. I think you still have a little bit of control with Perez if you sent him back down. But, he's another one of those guys that helped you get here. So
yeah. Pistons, they took an L today to the Spurs.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough team to battle because of the matchup that they have with the Pistons. Being able to have a guy like Wemby, be able to be almost 8 foot and not have to jump to dunk the ball he's a weapon. And I just think it's a matchup nightmare for the Detroit Pistons. So.
No Beef Stew, in that lineup. Who's a?
I think he's back. I think
did he play today?
I think he did because I think he played against Cleveland as well.
Okay,
his first game back was against Cleveland. So
tough matchup. Mm-hmm. Cleveland's they're proving to be tough, and then also Boston just gets back. Oh gosh,
Taysom. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, am I thinking right?
Tatum. Yeah, it's Jason Tatum. We're a Lions podcast here, so we're working through it. But the East is getting a little tougher right now.
Yeah.
Also, the West is proven to have a couple kings of the court over there.
Sure.
Michigan State basketball escapes a close one against Rutgers today.
Yep.
Michigan escapes a close one against Iowa today.
Yep. So.
And then the Red Wings. By the time you're listening to this podcast, tomorrow's the deadline. I think 3:00 on Friday, and the Red Wings need to do something. So today they traded for David Perron, got him back.
Bring him back.
He's a locker room guy. He's a highly respected guy. He's going to be, a bottom 6 forward for this team, but with some production, and also will stick his nose, do dirty work, and the locker room follows that guy. And he was one of the Red Wings. If you talk to the players when he became a free agent, they said, we want this guy back.
Yeah, and they gave up, peanuts in order to get him.
A fourth rounder, yeah.
So
nothing.
Yep, and so will the Red Wings do anything else moving forward? We're hoping tomorrow that they make the move necessary in order to stamp their ticket to the postseason and really kind of push them over the edge, because right now they're teetering. I would say the Wings are teetering. They just lost a tough one to the Vegas Kings last night, and
up 3-1 with 10 minutes to go, and you lose 4-3 in overtime. You get a point for that,
but they also lose a point, and that they should have been able to hold on to. So
yeah, I looked at a stat that said the Wings have the over the last 10 games the worst win-loss out of any teams that are in the playoffs right now, and there's a couple teams just charging right now. Buffalo's just hot. So
is your concern like it was last year, where we were primed and ready to move into March and take a playoff spot, but then just stumbled all the way through?
yeah, the Wings have a overloaded farm system. They have cap, right? That they can absorb contracts. So a lot of these trades you're seeing happen is like, okay, like you take this part of the salary, we'll take this part of the salary, which is unfortunate. You have to give up more for that. The Wings can say, we'll absorb the whole salary. We can take this salary. We have one of the best caps in the NHL. We have one of the best farm systems. And also, our goals for, goals against, we're negative this year and in the playoffs. So we need an offensive right shot defenseman, and we need a number 2 center. Among other things, but like there's some holes to fill in this team, and to end the drought, because I think the Red Wings have the second or third longest drought right now on making the playoffs in the NHL.
They need to get back, in order to bring back Hockey Town, in order to bring back an opportunity to make that postseason. It's got to come back soon.
Yeah, it'll be an eventful, but when you're listening to this, something's already broke, something's already happened, and it's probably going to happen as soon as we turn the mic off, right?
Yeah, right.
But that'll be interesting. And if it doesn't happen, there's just anarchy.
Yeah, right.
It's similar.
Is Stevie Y going to continue to be the GM of?
He will continue to be, just like Brad Holmes will continue to be. Like we have good GMs at the helm.
Sure.
Like you don't just get dealt aces after aces. Life is you're gonna get some 2s and some 3s with some aces, and that's just the way it works.
That's fair, but there's still questions, and obviously if you listen to the radio or if you listen to other podcasts, you're hearing it. There's question marks whether it's Stevie Y or if it's Brad Holmes. There's question marks if they're willing to do and make the big move in order to push their team over the edge.
This week, free agency opens up. Stay tuned to us. Like, subscribe, listen. Brian's going to put out updates. Brian, when you put those updates out, are you putting them out on the Apple Podcast? Are you putting them on the Spotify? Are you putting them on all that?
I'm not doing just the audio. It's typically on the YouTube or TikTok and Instagram. So.
Okay. All right. You'll get it first from B Mikes. He's passing the time in the hallways. And if something breaks, he's stepping into the side room and he's putting it out there. But I would imagine that next week we're gathered together, and there's a lot going on, and there's gonna be some good takes, and we're gonna start seeing the vision that the Lions have with how they're attacking the free agency market.
Yeah, I'm interested, and I guess time will tell.
Anything else you want to say?
Hey, just make sure that you do the thing, hit all the buttons, and as we move into this off season, things are going to get exciting, things are going to get hot, and we're here to give it to you. So,
stay gritty, go Lions.
Let's go.
Cheers. See you next week.